Welcome to the Not Superheroes Just Dads podcast. No, we can't fly. No, we can't shoot lasers or pick up giant buildings. But what we can do is help set the foundations for our families, be presents for our kids, and combat generational cycles. On this podcast, we dive into everything dad related, from the struggles we deal with as fathers to what our favorite thing to barbecue is. Hello, I am Sean Laurie, and today, guys, I am super hyped because I have one of my favorite people on this planet, to be honest, is Matthew Perry. How are you doing, my guy?
Man, I'm good, Sean. We go way back, man. We go
We
way
do,
back
man.
over a decade.
Man,
It's
you
gonna be
making me
fun.
feel old. Like you still young, but you making me feel old, man.
We're not watching
Like
the NBA playoffs tonight. We are talking about being
yeah.
a dad.
Hey, for real, man. My team is struggling anyway. My Clippers is
My
out.
team's
Your
out.
Lakers
Lake
are
Lakers
out.
are
So
out.
so at this point, it's like, hey, man, why not? But before we dive into this, man, I like to do a little icebreaker too at times. So
Yeah,
you have a beautiful baby girl that you brought into this world, right? And so my
yeah,
question to you is, what is one thing that you just could not prepare for? Like, no matter the books, no matter what
man.
people said, right? Like, what is the thing when you had your daughter, you was like, wait, hold on, I didn't know it was gonna be like this.
Yeah, man. I think everything, whatever you knew about being a dad, does not apply when you're in the hospital, right? And they just give you this baby. For us, it was an emergency C-section, so it was crazy.
Mm,
So, within 10 minutes, like I was asleep on the couch, and they're like, "Cold blue, cold blue." It's like 3 o'clock in the morning. I thought this was a dream, and like the couch at the hospital, and then they're like, "You got 10 minutes to get this baby out. Here's your clothes, get it on." So it was so quick, and so then they just give, "Here, dad, here's the baby," and then you're just like, "Oh man." Then you get back from the hospital, and you're like, "There's no return policy on this. Like they just
none,
gave me a baby, didn't tell me anything what to do, just said, 'Here's a baby.'"
no instructions, no anything, man.
No,
Just in. How old is she right now?
man, she just turned 5 months.
Five.
She just,
Wow,
yeah, it's flown by. It feels like
that's
just yesterday. So she just turned 5 months. It's been, man, the greatest 5 months of my life.
That's dope, bro. Isn't it crazy how much they changed within like that so quick of a time, like
They
from
changed so
2 weeks to
fast.
5 months? You're like, wait, whoa, what
She's
happened?
already starting to crawl at 5 months. She last night she started pulling herself across the
That's
bed.
dope.
So she's developing so well. We're so proud.
That's dope, man. I love it, bro. I love it, man. And so, with you being a new father,
Yeah,
and you have so much different things that you're doing, which we're about to dive into. So today, guys, I want to really dive into, with all of us, we all deal with this, right? Is being able to manage our time management, right? And so I felt like Matt would be perfect for this because of the fact that, um, well, I know for long, at least with me and him went to church together. Before he branched off and started doing all these amazing things. So today, I want us to talk about time management, guys. And honestly, I felt like Matt would be perfect for that because he has so much going on. He's married with a beautiful wife, beautiful daughter. And me and him actually went to church together. That's how we first met each other. And did we hoop together too? I can't remember. What,
yeah,
did you?
we
Was
used to hoop, man. We used to hoop.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So like I said, man, he's man, your schedule's crazy. So I'm not even going to explain all this stuff because you have so much going on. So you tell the people, man, what is it that your schedule looks like? What is like I guess say all the different things that you have going on, and then what does a typical day look like for you and your household?
Yeah, man, we're in the new season where, I mean, I've been a pastor, been in ministry over the last, 13 years, and we just moved back to San Diego, California to start a church. So it's
So,
busy. It's a new season, so it's so different because I'm not in a 9 to 5 office. I'm out here hustling, trying to raise money. My wife works from home, so we have a little bit of flexibility there. But it's busy, man. Spending most of my day meeting with people, trying to raise money, also coaching churches on the side, doing some traveling and speaking, also trying to work on some other business things to bring in
mm,
multiple streams of income,
yeah.
and some other opportunities. So it's busy, bro. That's life though, right? Everybody has got their things, they got their hobbies, they got busy. And what I tell my wife all the time is, we brought this baby into our world. So yeah,
Yeah.
she has a routine, she has a schedule. We try our absolute best to abide by, but we also have so many things we're juggling as well, and so we got to be so intentional.
So how do you like, because right, like you said, you're in the process of actually, having your own church, right?
Yeah,
So for some people they might think like, oh man, that's easy, or oh, they just kind of give that away. You should just be able to get like a little loan or whatever. And like, how's
yeah,
that process in itself? Because that sounds like it's hectic, to be honest. Like, right, and like you
yeah,
said, because you're out here trying to, you know, help with the funds. Hey, I need help in this situation, but let them know, hey, this is for the cause, because people are going to turn you down. Some people are going to support you. Some people might get
yeah.
pissed off, or you know what I mean. You just never know with
Yeah,
that,
man.
especially
There's a lot to do. You got to go through the IRS and all that stuff because you're a
Oh,
501(c)(3) nonprofit. So you're
oh
filing
wow.
paperwork, meeting with lawyers, making sure everything's good with the IRS. On the other
Jeez.
side, you're raising money. Like, it takes millions of dollars to start a church,
Mm,
to fund salaries for people, to find a building. At least the way that we're starting a church. There's different ways,
gotcha.
right? But hey, we want to gather a large group of people and it be
Mm,
a larger church from the jump. So there's tons of
mm,
things. You got to find meeting space, got to find people and build teams and do interest gatherings around the city. So there's so many pieces to do. So many meetings on the books. You're meeting with people, and man, I just got my best friend at some meetings with me. My baby's sitting right there. I'm on phone calls. My baby's with me, right? And so I'm loving the season where she's with me.
yeah.
And people just gotta be patient. And so I'll usually
Mm,
tell people I'm on the phone. I got my baby with me, so if she starts
yeah.
crying, hey, I'm dad first.
Mm, that's dope.
It's
That's
it's
dope.
it goes. I'm a Christian first, then I'm a husband, then I'm a dad, then I'm a pastor. Pastor
Mm,
should never supersede any of those other things. And unfortunately,
that's
we've all seen people where that's happened, and I have
yeah.
sometimes that has happened. I got to have a good wife to keep me on track. Hey, being a
Yeah.
pastor is not the most important thing, but being a
Mm.
Christian, being a husband, and then being a dad, all
Now,
come first.
so how do you limit those distractions, right? And they're not necessarily always even bad distractions, but like you said, you have certain things you need to prioritize. So
Yeah,
how, I guess it's two questions, right? How do you prioritize certain tasks, but also how do you limit certain distractions that can have you drift off, right? Because
yeah,
especially I know how you are, man. You have such a big heart, and so you could probably at times overextend yourself, right?
absolutely,
and
yeah.
and when you do that, obviously, like your wife and your new baby girl can maybe suffer from that. So how do you kind
Yeah.
of limit those distractions, but also make sure you prioritize certain tasks over the others?
Yeah, in productivity, it's so important, one, to manage your calendar well. Everything is in my calendar. Even if it's just something I want to do, I might not go, but I'm like, hey, Dodgers are in town versus the Padres. Let me put this in the calendar just so I
Yeah,
can have a view. I'm looking at my calendar every single day, what's coming up. So that allows me, wifey said, hey, we want to take the baby to SeaWorld. So I'm like, okay, here, this date, this date, this date, which one's the
yeah.
best? So I'm always thinking calendar, let's get it in to fill time
Mm,
there. Two, it's about energy management, right? I just
mm,
know, I know my wife's flow. I know my flow. I'm like, okay, I got to wake up early and get things done in the morning. Before, this is what I'm still working on, right? It's
yeah.
the sleep patterns of our baby. So as she's adjusting a little bit more, I'm like, okay, the time for me to get more knowledge work done is
Mm,
between 4 a.m. and probably 7 a.m. Then the baby's
mm,
up, so I'm helping get her ready. I'm helping with all
yeah.
those things. But I'm like, okay, what can I fit in before she wakes up? That's a key time for me, um, to be productive, because then I know when she's up, okay, she's at the point now, right, where she's taking naps and she wants to be held. So that's hard. It's hard to do things when you're holding a baby. I'm still trying to learn how to type and hold a baby. My wife's way better at it. But it's finding those times when, okay, I can get this work done and my energy's at a high level, because I
Mm,
know when I'm with the baby throughout the day, I'm doing a lot of phone calls. So what I'll do when I'm doing phone calls, I'll put the baby in the stroller and I'll just take a walk. For today, I walked for, man, 2 hours just on phone
mm.
calls and meetings on the phone while I'm pushing her in the stroller. and I know she's falling asleep and she's outside getting sunlight, so important. So for me, it's finding those windows where I'm able to multitask with her.
That's dope. So, and you said something that's really key to me is like the energy, like understanding, you know, what your energy and then your wife's energy as well, right? Because I feel like that's something we don't really think about at times. Like we put energy into everything, and so the fact that you're so conscious about that, right? Like, how did you? I guess how did you get to that point, bro? Like, how did you get to
Yeah,
that point to understand?
I studied so much about productivity because I wasn't good at it.
Mhm.
And you really got to work hard on the things you're not the best at, right? And
Mm,
so I knew, okay, how can I maximize my so I spent time reading productivity books, listening to podcasts, YouTube videos, and really what key productivity people say, it's not about time management as much as it is about energy management. When are you the
mm,
most energized to get things done? Get those most important tasks done when your energy is at a higher level.
yeah,
After lunch, my energy is down like most people. So that's when I'm
yeah,
like, let me jump into some meetings, let me do phone calls in those windows because that doesn't take as much energy as sitting there and writing a
mm,
message and sitting there and working on some things that my brain's got to be really focused on. And so it's so important to know, okay, these are the times that I'm able to focus the most. At nighttime, I know I just kind of want to lounge, I want to watch TV,
yeah,
I want to have some ice cream, go to bed type of thing. So I'm not
yeah.
getting a lot of work done at that time. That's time just chilling with the wife, putting the baby to sleep, and just spending that time. And so you got to know your times in your life when it's like, okay, this is where I can put my energy towards the most important things. Here's where I'm doing things that I don't need to be super focused on.
I like that. So, you might not have even thought this far ahead, but when you guys, you know, complete building the church and
Yeah,
things are running and things like that, right? Which I know you know for firsthand because you've seen it as well.
yeah,
When it goes over, I guess, an extended period, right, where you're serving or doing different things for others, especially as you being the lead pastor, right? Like,
yeah,
there's some times where you're going to be extending yourself. What
absolutely.
have you thought about? How can you kind of combat or help yourself when your energy's low, but you're going to be needed? Because
Yeah,
you know firsthand that that's going to be something that probably comes a lot at times.
yeah, absolutely. I think, for me, I love a good coffee. I love, and not even the caffeine that it brings, but having something I enjoy, I like, um,
Mm, okay.
boosts my morale, right? So,
Yeah.
oh man, my energy's low. I'm overextending myself by taking on a little too much. Let me make sure I'm doing something that fills up my cup a little bit too, with
Mm,
that. And so, let me make sure that lunch I'm eating something that I enjoy.
yeah.
Let me make sure I'm having a nice coffee that I'm going to enjoy. That stuff will boost my morale and make me feel okay. At least I look forward to this smoothie, this something that I've been craving.
Yeah.
Um, I think it's important though, no matter how busy you are, especially in ministry, especially as a pastor, that you don't sacrifice your family for the ministry.
Whew.
The Bible talks so much about if you cannot lead your home, you cannot lead a church. You can't lead
Wow.
other people. And so for me, it's okay if I get a preaching request and it's going to miss something of my daughter's, I'm probably not going to take it. It doesn't matter if Elevation Church called me. Nope. Like I already have something planned with the family. I remember I just I'm preaching at a church in Phoenix in June, and they're like, hey, can you preach this date? And it was the day after my anniversary, so I'd have to fly out there and miss my anniversary. I said, "No, nah, can't preach that day. You can give me a new one, or I just won't take it." So then they gave me a different date. I think it's
Mm,
so important because I haven't been the best at this at all.
yeah.
Is I'm not going to sacrifice my family, and so I think the important thing is it's like, nope, can't meet with you that day. I'm taking my daughter to SeaWorld with my family, or we're going to
That's
Disneyland. Like, no is your best friend in productivity, and you got to die to pleasing people because at the end of the day, the people who matter the most are the ones I'm with every single night. Those are the people I want to please, not the people who need you 24/7.
yeah. That's dope, bro. And that's, I mean, well, I know you. For those that are listening or watching, like you're one of the most authentic people I know, and so just hearing that is dope to me too, because people, unfortunately, right, not all pastors are I don't even want to say bad, but pastors are looked in a certain light at times,
Yeah,
right? Where it's like, hey, they're focused on status, or they're trying to look good, or they're trying to have this certain image where you're like, hey, no, this is me and my family's going to come first. Like, I love everybody, but I'm going to make sure that I prioritize my family. You know what I mean? That's a beautiful
yeah.
thing. That's why
I
I know,
mean, yeah, I'd
like,
rather
oh, go
church people get mad at me than my wife and my daughter, right? I'd
ahead.
rather church people be mad than my daughter say, man, my dad's never here. There's
Mm,
some great pastors even who travel so much, way more than me. And
yeah,
there's this one I love. His name's Chris Durso, and he's out of New York. And I was with him at a conference, and he brought his kids with him. And so that's something I'm looking forward to is as I
yeah,
travel and do cool things with churches, I get
mm,
to bring my daughter to some of those experiences. Um,
mm,
see different cities. So I think you don't have to say no to everything, but okay, what's the right thing to say yes to? What's the right thing to say no to? If my daughter, I remember I was just talking to a pastor who struggled with this, and he said he had to go to this pastors conference. His pastor told him go to this pastors conference. He said it's my son's little league playoffs, and the guy said the other pastor said, hey, there's going to be other playoff games. Just go to this. And he's like, you know what,
mm.
Matt? There was no other playoff games. That was his last playoff game, and I missed it, and I shouldn't have missed it. And
Wow.
so don't go with the mindset there's going to be another because there might not be. And
Yeah.
whatever my daughter chooses to go to, I'm going to as best as I possibly can. Hey, we got a staff meeting is canceled because my daughter's got this game, or let's all go support my daughter. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You got to be so intentional about letting your family know whether you run a business, whether whatever it is. Don't lose your family because that business is not worth it. That career is
Mm,
not worth it. At the end of the day, that career can replace you with somebody tomorrow. But your
true.
family, you can't let them replace you.
So how do you deal with? Because you said something, that really just caught my attention. How do you? Because people don't really think about that unless you're like really serving in the church. Then you kind of see this. But how do you deal with? Especially, I'm sure pastors deal with it a lot. How do you deal with the politics of it? Right, where you have certain things that you want to do, like that for your wife, for your kids, whatever. But at the same time, how do you balance that? Where it's like you said, the other pastor was like, hey, there'll be, and doesn't mean his intentions was bad. He had good intentions, but he said, hey, no, you need to come to this. Like, there'll be another game, right? How do you balance that? Because at least my point of view, I could be wrong. Like how I view it is like it's hard at times to tell other people in in that community, other pastors or whatever, especially if they're looked at in a different light, right? To kind of turn them down or say no or whatever the case is, to say no and kind of just, okay, yeah, I'm gonna do this conference, even though you might have had plans to do something with your kids or your wife that you was like, man, they were really looking forward to. Because I know from my experience, I would see pastors at times like, man, I was supposed to be here, but I'm here speaking to you guys, which is like cool. Like,
Yeah,
I'm thankful that you're giving us this great message, but
and
they
that
had to miss
happens.
out on.
Yeah, that happens sometimes. I think it's all about your family dynamic, right? How's your
Okay.
wife feeling, right? So if I've said no to three things, and my wife's like, "Hey, you should go to this thing. It's okay.
Mm,
It's okay to miss this one." I think don't let it get to the point though where your family's like, "You missed the last four. Like, where have you
gotcha.
been?" Like, you know what I'm saying? It's about balance and it's about communication with your family. There
Yeah.
might be certain things you have to be at, right? There could be a
Mm,
funeral I got to do, just things like that. Things come up, and
yeah.
it's talking to your family. It's getting their feeling. It's under them understanding the nature. Maybe there's a funeral that pops up on the same time that my daughter Ava's got something, and it's like, okay, baby, do you understand where Daddy has to go? Do you understand?
Mm,
Like helping her understand, my wife understand the nature of things. And there's some things that you might have to miss, but do your best not to, because Sean, your kids are older, right?
yeah.
You're probably there's days you're like, man, I wish I could go back and I didn't miss this basketball game. I
Yeah.
wish I could go back and I didn't miss this thing. Um,
Yeah.
and I don't want to. I don't, as best as I can. I don't want to be the I didn't miss this. I want to be like,
Yeah.
man, I moved everything I possibly could to be at everything for her. And I want her to know that my dad moved mountains to be at my band
Mhm.
recital or my basketball game or whatever it is,
Yeah.
because that's how much he loves me.
Yeah. No, I definitely can relate to that because for the most part, I've been to pretty much everything, but the couple things I haven't was when my kids had field trips, right? Like
Mm,
mom's been able to go, but I haven't.
yes.
So actually, this week will be the first time I actually go on a field trip with my kids, and they're like super
Oh,
excited,
that's
right? So,
awesome.
well,
Yeah.
actually, I got back to back. I got my sons, and then the following week I got my daughters, and so my daughter's super excited, like. And I was kind of hesitant because they're like, "Hey, you're gonna have to be chaperone." I'm like, "So I gotta watch all these other kids, not just
I just
mine."
want to
Like,
hang out with mine.
I just wanted to hang out with mine because, like, my
Yeah.
son, his, I'm like, cool. I get to just kind of chill with him. But my daughter, I was like, "You sure, baby girl?" She's like, "Yeah, Dad, come on. I want to show you off to my friends." I'm like, "All right,
Oh,
like,
that's dope.
okay,
And I
you
think
know,
it's so easy to say, right? And it's so hard to do. So I'm 5 months into this. So I'm talking my vision though of what I want.
yeah,
And so it's so important to be on the same page with your wife. It's so important
yeah,
to help your kids understand. I'm not saying I'm not going to miss anything. There's probably things that I absolutely will miss because that's just the nature of life. But how do I
yeah,
help my daughter to understand why? How do I
mm,
how do I me and my wife be on the same page where she's keeping me accountable? Hey, you missed this one, so make sure you're at this one in this one, right? I think it comes down to one of my favorite Christmas movies, right? Jingle All the Way. You remember that movie?
old school, old
Yeah,
school with
yeah, yeah.
it,
Old school Arnold Schwarzenegger.
yeah."
He made up
He was
for it at
going
the
crazy
end.
for that toy.
Yeah, but I don't want my relationship with my daughter to look like that, right?
mm,
Oh man, he told me he was gonna be here and he missed it.
yeah,
If make let your word be let your the Bible says let your yes be yes and your no be no. If I give my word
mm,
to be at something, okay, no matter what opportunities come up, I'm going to
yeah,
this. Or she's like, hey
yeah,
dad, can you come to this? Hey baby, I don't know if I'll be able to make this one, but here's what I'm going to do to make it up for you. Let's put this in the calendar. I think one of the things I'm most excited about is daddy daughter dates, like a weekly thing as much as I possibly can.
yeah,
Of even if it's all right, we're going to go to Starbucks and get a cake pop for
yeah,
20 minutes, and you're just going to tell me about your day and just different
yeah,
things like that. But I don't want the clock to hit 18 and it's like I wish there's all these things I would have done.
yeah. No, that's real, bro. That's actually too. I was thinking because, like you said, spending time with your daughter and really building that bond. So, are you? And maybe you're not conscious of this or thought about this,
Yeah,
but I'm just wondering because I remember hearing this at times. Are you kind of because you are a pastor? Are you concern, I guess the better, yeah, concern as far as, so I've heard this before with pastor kids or kids that grew up
yeah,
in the church where they feel like my parents is too churchy or my parent, like
mm,
I have to be perfect because the status that my dad or my mom in the church, right? Have you
yeah,
thought about that? And if you have, what is something you thought about? Obviously, she's only 5 months, but what is something
yeah.
you're going to try to strive to make sure she doesn't feel that way, right? Where it's like, oh shoot, like, oh, I stole the candy bar, and I shouldn't
Yeah,
have,
that's a
and
great question.
right. So yeah,
Yeah, I think, man, my wife's more concerned than me. I
mm,
think because I think for me it's just about my relationship with my daughter, right? Bonding doesn't start when she can talk. I'm bonding with her every single day right now. We're playing together at 5 months old. I'm giving her kisses all the time, holding her. Like we have such a good bond at 5 months.
mm,
And that's so important to me because that's going to carry on for the rest of her life. And so I think a bond is important because can my daughter trust me? Am I the
mm,
same? Am I the same dad she's seen on the stage, off the stage? Um, does she know that I'm not perfect? We were at a
mm,
church and there was a slogan, right? No perfect people allowed. But
yeah,
does my
yeah,
daughter know that I'm not perfect? Does my daughter know that I make mistakes too? Am I teaching her biblical principles early, like grace? Right? Hey, baby, nobody's going to be perfect. That's why we
Yeah.
give grace, and we give grace to ourselves because none of us are. So I
Mhm.
think it's so important to teach at such a young age about those things. So she's like, yeah,
Yeah.
my dad's a pastor, but he's not perfect. My dad's a pastor, but can I tell you that I can just be honest with him? I think that's the culture. We try so hard to create a culture in our church, which is important, or our business, or whatever that is. But I got to create a culture for my family. Does my daughter
Mhm.
feel comfortable to tell me things she's going through? Does my daughter feel comfortable coming to me? Hey, Dad. I went to my friend's house. It turned out to be a party. I just want to talk to you about it. Like, did I build that kind of bond with my daughter? That because that's the goals, right? When my daughter can come to me about anything, and just
Yeah.
because I'm a pastor, she's like, my dad's not going to judge me. My dad's not going to lecture me all the time. I'm not going to be punished about everything. Um, I think the culture I'm trying to create is not to punish whenever you do something wrong, but punish when you lie and try and cover up. That's where a punishment happens. But if you do something wrong and then you're honest and you confess it, God doesn't punish us when we do that, right? Like the perfect model of fatherhood is our heavenly Father, right? And so
Mhm.
God gives us grace when we make mistakes. So I want to
Yeah.
live a graceful relationship with my daughter. If she comes to me and say, "Hey, Dad, I made a mistake," this is what happened. Why would I punish her? Like, God doesn't
Mhm.
punish me. God opens his arms and brings me in when I go to him and ask for forgiveness. Now, if
Yeah.
I try and cover it up, you see some punishment and discipline happen in scripture when there's the cover up and you're trying to get away with it. That's when it's like, okay, we need to have a conversation. There needs to be some type of discipline to learn.
Yeah.
But when she makes mistakes, no, like make tons of mistakes, and you have a dad who's going to be here and love you unconditionally no matter what.
That's dope, and that's big too. Just what you're saying, and I know you're going to be following through with that with her as well. Just because I'm sure you know too, right? It's just that image that the kids kind of freak out on, and
Yeah,
they're like, oh my gosh, like I'm making them look bad, or they talk to me about this all the time, and I did this, but to know like, hey, yeah, I messed now. Like you said, be honest with me, tell the truth. Now, if you keep making the same mistake, okay, let's find the root of it. Like,
yeah,
why do
and
you?
let's figure it out. Like that's not even
Yeah,
to me. I don't even feel. Again, I'm 5 months into this, but the way I think about it, it's not even like you keep making the same mistake. Let's sit down and let's figure this out. You're
yeah,
not grounded all the time because I don't want you to think if you come to me, you're going to be punished. Like that's just
yeah,
what your mind goes to. Now I can't go to mom and dad because they're just going to punish me. That's not the
yeah,
relationship I want. I want it to be like, okay, let's sit down, let's figure it out because we keep making the same mistake, so something's not working. So let's get a
yeah,
whiteboard, let's draw it. That's the way my mind thinks. So let's think
yeah,
about this together. Why are we making the same mistake? Okay, what's the cause when we make the mistake? So what accountability can we set to not continue to do that?
mm, yeah. I mean, especially the thing with girls, me having two girls, right?
Yeah.
When like they honestly, especially when you have that bond with your daughters, um, or daughter for you, they really don't want to disappoint dad. Like they're
Mm.
fine disappointing mom, but they really don't want it. I'm just being honest. They don't want to disappoint dad. So it's one of those things where it's like, dang, wait, I screwed up. Oh shoot, okay. Because which I appreciate. Like my oldest, like she's very honest with me. Like we have a very good
Mm.
relationship.
I
Now I
love
had
that.
to like help her with that because at
Yeah.
first like she wanted to be very like closed off, and I'm like, no, it's okay. Like speak how you feel. Like that's my thing. Like understand your emotions and then let's express it, right?
That's
And
great.
let's see
I feel
why
like
you
it's
feel it.
almost like being a coach, right? Again, you're way ahead
Yes,
of this game than me, but it's
yes,
not. It's like, okay, let's coach you a little bit out of this.
yes, yes. No, that's honestly that's literally what it is because I'm sure you know too, right? I was doing life coaching for a while, and then also I'm a basketball coach right now, right? So it's
Yeah.
like similar to that. So I have to think it from her point of view on certain things and help her work through it. But she definitely never wants to disappoint me. So she, even now, she's 18 years old doing her own thing, but she'll ask me, "Hey, Dad," because she's dating now. So she's like, "Hey,
Uh
Dad,
oh. Uh
what's?" Yeah, that's a whole nother thing. But she's,
That's
"Hey,
another
hey, Dad."
podcast episode.
Yeah, yeah, that's a whole nother thing, right? But she's like, "Hey, what time do I need to be home?" Right? And she
Mm.
makes sure she's home. Hey, okay, you've been out for such and such. Like, there's times where I'm like, stay out till 10 o'clock. Come. Actually, I need you to come home early. Come at okay, yeah, that's fine, Dad. Like different things like that, right? It's my
Yeah.
boys It's my boys that want to like test, right? But my girls, like they're pretty much like they're gonna try to test you, but they really don't want to disappoint. So as long as you have that connection, like what you're saying, man, it's gonna be fine because as fathers, we're their first love, right? That's just
Yeah,
what it is. So that's a
yeah.
beautiful thing,
I
man.
love it. I think it's so important again as the dad, as you're leading your home, right? That's your
Yes,
responsibility. What is the culture that you want to create? Because culture
yes.
happens either on accident or on purpose, but culture is going to
Mm-hmm.
happen either way, right? And
Mm,
if you're not intentional about the culture you want to create in your home, just a culture is going to happen that you're not controlling, that you're not
true.
leading, that you don't have the vision for. So have a vision for your family, have a vision for your house, have a culture for it. Like this is what I want to see. Me and my wife said it on. We want to put in some extra work right now because we want to be able to cover our daughter's college tuition, and we want to be able to
Mm,
buy her first house. Like, hey, don't even like part of the vision I have for her is wherever she goes to college, we're able to buy a house. She can go rent out some rooms to her roommates, and
mm,
that money she can go into a savings account for her to
yeah.
invest or whatever that is. But have a vision. Again, she's 5 months old, and we have a vision of the exact school we want her to go to. We have a vision, not college, like elementary, middle school,
Yeah.
high school. She can go wherever
Yeah.
she wants to for college or whatever she wants to do. But
Yeah.
we want to have money set aside. Again, we're not rich, but we have the vision so early on. We got 18 years to make that happen.
Mm. That's dope. I love it, bro. And speaking of your wife, just because you've been highlighting her and I
Yeah,
know she's been so amazing for you. I want to ask you, how do
yeah,
you manage your time with her? Because especially just having, well, she's 5 months, but almost, it
yeah,
wasn't that long ago, right? So that,
yeah,
and then you got to deal with, as at least from my experience, like, or not in my experience. I'm sure most of us as fathers have dealt with this, where our women, give birth to our beautiful child, and then they have different things they're going through emotionally, physically,
oh
right?
yeah,
All
that
these different
postpartum
things
is no
that
joke.
happen. Yeah, right. So it's so much going on,
Yeah,
and then making sure, like, yes, we want to give them the time with the baby to bond, but also making sure that we're being conscious of giving them time and making sure that we're making sure that they know that they're loved, and this next, it's not just, oh, I just want the baby, and you're kind of sitting right
yeah,
there. Hey, I'm done with the baby. Here, have the baby
yeah.
back, right? So, how have you been able to manage all that? That because that's a transition in itself for both of you.
Man, that's I, I'm not an expert. I don't even have it figured out.
Man, Sean, that's a great question. I think, and I'm not the pro at this, I think I did not do the best at this early on in our marriage, and it's been 5, 6 years of just learning how to, like, hey, this, whatever I'm scrolling is not more important. Whatever used to be a PlayStation, I used to always play 2K, and then my wife walked in before my birthday and said, "You're 32, when are you going to stop playing video games?" And I said, out of the pride in my heart, I took it out of the system and I posted it on Facebook Marketplace and sold it that day. Said, I don't need video games no more. I'm a family man. No, I'm just kidding. But all that to say is I haven't done the best job at that, and it's reminding myself, okay, have I told my wife how beautiful she is? Because they go through so much, and my wife had an emergency C-section, and so there's more things attached to that. Because she's still in the healing process, and so for me, and it's being understanding. I think that's the thing I haven't always done the best at. Am I leading my wife with empathy? Am I being understanding? She's like, nope, this baby is not leaving my sight. Yes, ma'am. So let's go out on date night or whatever that may be, and the baby's coming with us, and hopefully the baby falls asleep. But I just know the season of life we're in, and I can't hold that against my wife, right? I'm understanding, and just there for her, and because it's so much for her. Yeah, it's for me, but it's so much more for her. She's like, this baby was inside me for 9 months, now it's out, and trying to process all that stuff. So I think the best thing you can be is understanding. Okay, if that means for a while the baby's coming on date nights, that's just what that means, and I'm not gonna fight it. I'm gonna be okay with it, and we're gonna bond as a family, and we'll find our moments when the baby's asleep to spend some extra time together. That's when we'll maybe read a verse, or so. That's when we pray and all that stuff. That's when we'll talk and show each other funny TikToks and have our moments and things like that. But I've learned to get my how I want things out of my head and be understanding to my wife in the season that she's in.
That's dope, bro. That's man. That's hella dope, man. And you know, but before we close out, because we're about to close out, but um, let people know, you know, where they can follow you and as you're building this church, can see your journey and things like that, or anything else you got going on, man. Let the people know real quick just what you got going on, or where they can keep track of what you're doing.
Yeah, you can follow me on any social media at Matt Swifty Perry on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, all that stuff. And you can find out more about just content I'm creating, and going to be dropping some stuff for even some dad content, and to help you. I think, man, being a dad is one of the greatest blessings you can have. It is literally a joy, and it's a lot of work. It's a lot of responsibility that you're the head of your home and you're responsible. And so, same heart as you, want to help dads win, want to help marriages win with babies and things like that. So, I'm going to be creating some content soon on that. And the church is called Love Church SD, Love Church San Diego. And so, man, want to just, love is the central theme of God. That's what the gospel is. So we want to make sure people feel loved. But yeah, Matt Swifty Perry, you can follow me there.
Dope, bro. Dope, man. And I appreciate you, man. I appreciate your time, of course, man. And you know, you're doing an amazing job. You're seeing your beautiful family continue to grow. Yeah, man. And make sure you guys, you know, like always, guys, make sure you guys make sure you guys subscribe, tell a friend. And I'm just so thankful for the support. And like always, guys, remember, you don't have to be perfect, but you always have to be present. We'll see you guys on the next one.